When the Galactic Assembly announced war on Earth, the entire hall felt heavy and cold. Many species filled the chamber, each one convinced that humans would panic or beg for mercy. But the humans who stood there did not look afraid. They only looked tired. They only looked like they had expected this moment for a long time. Su-Jin, the human representative, did not speak. She simply listened to the powerful voice of the assembly speaker, as he declared that Earth had refused to obey the demands of the stronger empires. She watched as dozens of alien leaders raised their banners and shouted that humanity must be taught a lesson. She did not shout back. She did not argue. She only bowed her head slightly as if acknowledging something she had already heard many times before. Hana and Ji-won, two human diplomats who had worked for months to prevent this war, stood behind her. They looked disappointed but not surprised. They had tried to explain Earth's position again and again. They had tried to show that humans wanted peace, not dominance. But many powerful species had mocked them. Some had laughed at the idea that humans mattered at all. Others had interrupted them, refusing to negotiate unless Earth agreed to impossible demands. Now the hall shook with noise as the war declaration echoed through the air. Aliens whispered that humans would now collapse. Some whispered that Earth would beg for protection. Others whispered that this would finally prove that humans did not belong in the assembly. But Su-Jin only turned around and walked away from the center of the chamber. Hana and Ji-won followed her quietly. Their steps were steady, their faces calm. The silence of the humans confused the aliens more than any threat would have. As they left the chamber and entered the long corridor of the assembly building, Ji-won spoke first. His voice was soft. It was always going to end like this. Su-Jin nodded. They chose this path. We tried everything. Hana let out a slow breath. Will Earth be ready? Su-Jin stopped walking for a moment. Her eyes were sharp, calm, and certain. Earth has been ready for years. That was the truth few aliens understood. Humans had not come to the stars unprepared. They had studied every empire. They had watched the old wars between ancient species. They had seen how the galaxy treated anyone who appeared weak. Many humans had hoped for peace, but they knew peace was never guaranteed. So Earth had made its own plan. It was called Protocol Dawn. And the moment the assembly declared war, Protocol Dawn activated across every human station, colony, and ship. While Su-Jin and the diplomats walked quietly toward their shuttle, the news of war reached Earth's Defense Command. Commander Dong-hyuk, who had trained countless soldiers and pilots, received the message with a steady expression. He did not shout. He did not panic. He simply looked at the officers around him and said 2 words. It begins. Around him, officers moved instantly. Lights changed from blue to red. The defense grid activated. Fleets that had been hidden behind the shadows of planets powered up their engines. Stealth ships that no alien scanner had ever detected rose from their silent docks. Earth did not want war. But Earth was not afraid of it. Back in the Galactic Assembly, alien leaders celebrated their decision. Some raised their arms high and declared that the galaxy would be safer without humans. Others argued about who would gain control of Earth's systems after the war. Not a single one of them imagined that humanity could win. A few smaller species did not celebrate. They watched the humans leave and felt uneasy. They had heard stories about humans. Not stories of cruelty or aggression, but stories of endurance and courage. Some whispered that humans were different. They whispered that humans could survive anything. But no one listened to them. Meanwhile, Su-Jin and the others reached the shuttle platform. The sky above the assembly was calm, but Su-Jin knew it would not stay calm for long. Ji-won sat down inside the shuttle and held his hands together tightly. They think we will surrender quickly. They think we are weak, Hana said. Su-Jin shook her head. No, they think we are like them. They expect us to react the way they would. Fearful, angry, desperate. But humans are not like them. The shuttle lifted into the sky. Through the window, the assembly tower grew smaller and smaller until it looked like a thin silver line across the clouds. Su-Jin closed her eyes for a moment. She remembered all the meetings, all the insults, all the warnings that had been ignored. She remembered how many times they had tried to explain that Earth wanted friendship, not conflict. She remembered how the powerful empires laughed when humans offered cooperation. Now those same empires had chosen war. When the shuttle docked with the human diplomatic ship, the crew saluted as Su-Jin entered. They already knew what had happened. The news had traveled faster than light. The entire ship hummed with quiet energy. The crew did not seem afraid. Many of them even looked determined. Captain Ha-Jun approached Su-Jin with a serious expression. "We have already received new orders. We are to return to Earth immediately." Su-Jin nodded. "Good. The assembly will send fleets soon." Ha-Jun hesitated for a moment. "Do you think they understand what they have started?" "No," Su-Jin said simply. "They have no idea." The ship began its jump toward Earth. As the stars stretched into long white lines, Su-Jin felt the first true weight of what was coming. This war would be terrible. Many would suffer. She knew that. She also knew that humans had tried everything to avoid it. But now that it had begun, humanity would not bend. Humanity would not break. Earth had smiled when the galaxy announced war, not because humans enjoyed fighting, but because humans understood something the galaxy did not. They understood that strength was not loud. It was quiet. It was patient. It prepared in silence. Across the galaxy, alien fleets began to move toward the solar border. Commanders laughed as they imagined Earth falling easily. They believed humans had never faced a real interstellar war. They believed humans were still new to the stars. They did not know that humans had spent decades studying every threat. They did not know that Earth's technology was not as simple as they thought. They did not know that Commander Dong-hyuk had trained for this moment every day of his life. As the first alien fleets approached Earth's territory, their sensors detected nothing unusual. The space ahead looked empty and quiet. They believed humans were hiding in fear. But far beyond their scanners, hidden behind dark fields and silent engines, Earth's defense forces waited. They watched. They calculated. They prepared to move as one. War had begun. And Earth did not tremble. Earth simply exhaled like someone who had known this moment would come. The galaxy had announced war, and humanity had been waiting. Commander Dong-hyuk stood on the bridge of the flagship, his hands clasped behind his back as he surveyed the dark expanse of space before him. Sensors were alive with hundreds of small blips faintly glowing on the displays. The alien fleets had begun to move into the solar border, confident and loud, unaware that humans were not just waiting. They were ready. Dong-hyuk turned to his second-in-command, Ji-ho. "Deploy the stealth squadrons to the outer perimeter. Keep the rail cannons in silent mode. No premature attacks. We wait until they cross the line." Ji-ho nodded, pressing a few controls. Through the observation windows, small ships, sleek and angular, began to move in quiet patterns. They were hidden behind asteroid fields and clouded nebulae, invisible to alien sensors. Human pilots had trained for decades for this moment. Their simulations had predicted every move the aliens might make. Every weakness had been mapped. In the command room, Lieutenant Su-min studied the incoming alien formations. "Sir, they are dividing into 3 main groups. They expect to overwhelm us quickly." Dong-hyuk's eyes did not leave the viewports. "Good. Let them think they understand. It will make their mistakes bigger." Meanwhile, in one of the alien ships, Commander Vark of the Zealand fleet frowned. His ships were moving through space with the usual arrogance of the Empire. They had expected an easy victory. The humans, according to their intelligence, were disorganized and untrained. Vark had dismissed reports of advanced Earth defenses as exaggeration. Now, as his ships approached the first sensor lines, he noticed small discrepancies. Ships that should have been detected were missing from the grid. He frowned deeper. "Something is wrong," he muttered. Back on the human flagship, Dong-hyuk gave his order. "Engage." In a perfect coordinated sequence, human ships struck. Rail cannons hidden behind asteroids fired silently, destroying the engines of alien scouts before they could send warnings. Stealth squadrons appeared suddenly, weaving between larger ships with impossible precision, disabling weapons with rapid strikes. Alien commanders shouted orders, but their sensors and communications were confused. They could not find the attackers. Ji-ho watched a display showing multiple enemy vessels being disabled. "They don't know where to hit back," he said, a note of awe in his voice. Dong-hyuk did not respond. He only observed, calm and focused. Each move had been calculated. Each strike had been predicted. This was not luck. It was preparation. On Earth, scientists and engineers monitored the battle from underground command centers. Communications expert Yoon-ha smiled as she watched the alien fleet panic. "They think the humans are weak. They think we are afraid. They do not realize we have studied their tactics for years. Across the galaxy, news of the sudden disappearance of alien ships began to spread. Rumors circulated quickly. One by one, other alien fleets slowed their advance. Confusion spread faster than the speed of light. Some believed Earth had hidden technology beyond imagination. Others whispered that humans were not fighting for territory or dominance. They fought for survival. And they did so with unmatched precision. In the cockpit of a stealth fighter, pilot Hyunwoo maneuvered through the chaos. His ship twisted through asteroid belts, weaving past enemy fire and striking with silent lasers. He glanced at the sensors. "Another one down," he said into the communicator. "Good," replied his wingman Dae-hyun. "Keep moving. Remember, we do not stop until they retreat." Hyunwoo felt a rush of adrenaline, but it was controlled. Humans had trained not to panic, not to overreact. Every movement was purposeful. Every strike calculated. The aliens, on the other hand, were shouting, firing blindly, trying to respond to a threat they could not see. Commander Vark's frustration grew. His once confident fleet now wavered. He realized he had underestimated humans, just as countless other species had before. "Increase scanning frequency," he ordered. "We must find them. We cannot lose to a single planet." But it was too late. Earth's fleets had already moved to positions that made every attempt to detect them futile. The aliens were chasing ghosts, striking empty space while human ships dismantled their formations silently and efficiently. Dong-hyuk watched the reports with satisfaction. "They are learning too late," he said. "Humans are not easy to surprise, and we do not fight like they do. We do not panic. We do not falter." In a nearby human carrier, Hana observed the battle from the observation deck. She had once worried that humans might not be ready for a war this big. But now, seeing the calm determination of every pilot, every soldier, she felt a deep sense of pride. "We are more than ready," she whispered. The aliens began to realize that their first wave of attacks had failed miserably. Some ships tried to retreat, but the humans anticipated their every move. Hyunwoo and his wingman intercepted fleeing vessels, disabling them without firing a single destructive missile. Earth's technology was precise. Earth's pilots were precise. Every move worked together to create a perfect harmony of defense and offense. Commander Vark called for reinforcements, but messages back to the assembly were slow. By the time more alien ships arrived, humans had already adjusted their tactics. They moved in perfect coordination, striking weak points that alien commanders did not even know existed. Every fleet, every squadron acted as one mind, connected by strategy and years of preparation. Soo-jin, watching the reports from her ship, finally spoke to Hana and Ji-won. They thought this would be a quick war. They thought they could intimidate us. But they will learn something important today. Humans do not react as they expect. We are patient. We are strong. And we are prepared. Hana nodded. They will not underestimate us again. Ji-won remained silent for a moment, watching the displays. "Some of them may never understand us," he said finally. "Some will only learn after they have lost." The battle continued for hours, but the human forces never faltered. Ships moved with grace, striking, hiding, and striking again. Alien fleets began to scatter, confused and demoralized. Communications from the assembly were full of disbelief and anger. No one had predicted such organized resistance from a single planet. On Earth, citizens watched the battle unfold from secure stations and screens. Families held each other as they saw the reports. They felt fear, but also a sense of pride. Humans had waited for this day, prepared for this challenge, and now they were showing the galaxy their strength. Dong-hyuk finally gave the order to slow the attacks. "Let them think they survived," he said. "We do not destroy unnecessarily. We teach them a lesson." Across the alien fleets, commanders counted their losses and tried to regroup. They had been confident, arrogant, and cruel. Now they were unsure, nervous, and fearful. The first impressions of human weakness had been shattered. The galaxy would not forget this day. As night fell on Earth, or what counted as night in the orbiting stations, the first wave of attacks had ended. Humans had shown restraint, but also unmatched power. The aliens had seen what patience, preparation, and unity could do. And for the first time, many began to whisper the truth. Humans were nothing like anyone had expected. Dong-hyuk leaned back in his chair and let out a slow breath. He looked at the stars beyond and smiled faintly. "The galaxy thinks this is war. For us, it is only the beginning." The aliens had crossed the border expecting easy victory. Instead, they had found humans who had not just defended their planet. They had taught the galaxy that Earth was never unprepared, never naive, and never to be underestimated. And as the fleets prepared to retreat and regroup, humans knew that the real challenge was still ahead. But for now, humanity had shown its strength, its patience, and its resolve. The first response had been decisive, and the galaxy would remember it. Yunha stood quietly in the secure communication chamber on Earth, her eyes moving over the live images of captured alien vessels. Several small ships had been disabled and boarded by human forces. Inside the command centers, soldiers moved with calm precision, escorting prisoners and studying their technology. Yunha had an important task. She was to explain humanity to these alien captives, not as a threat but as a force they had misunderstood. One of the alien envoys, a being with translucent skin and wide eyes, floated nervously in a containment field. Yunha approached and spoke slowly, carefully. "You have seen what humans can do. You have seen our defenses, our coordination. You may think it is unusual, but you must understand why we act as we do." The alien tried to speak, but its translator device garbled its words. Yunha nodded. "Do not worry. I will explain. Humans are not fearless. Humans are cautious. Humans plan for every possibility. We learn from our history. We remember our mistakes. That is why we are strong. That is why Earth has survived countless threats even before you noticed us." On the battlefield, human pilots continued to outmaneuver alien fleets. Hyunwoo led a squadron through a cluster of asteroid belts, each movement calculated to confuse the enemy. They struck swiftly and vanished before alien sensors could track them. His wingman, Dae-hyun, communicated over the channel. "They keep sending reinforcements, but they fall into the same traps." Hyunwoo nodded without replying. His attention was fully on the formation ahead. He could see alien ships trying to regroup, trying to organize an attack. Every time they moved, human squadrons had already anticipated it. They blocked every route, disabled every weapon system, and minimized casualties. It was a game of precision, patience, and skill, and humans played it perfectly. Commander Dong-hyuk watched reports from multiple fronts, all showing the same pattern. Aliens were confused, disorganized, and fearful. Yet Dong-hyuk did not feel triumph. He knew the war was far from over. He turned to Jiho and said, "They will learn to fear, but not out of anger. They will learn respect. That is what we are teaching them." On the captured alien ship, the envoy continued to look at Yunha, still struggling to understand. "Why do you not attack with full force?" it finally asked, its voice mechanical through the translator. Yunha smiled faintly. "We do not fight for destruction. We fight to end threats efficiently. Humans do not take joy in unnecessary suffering. We strike only where needed, and we strike with precision. That is how we have survived. That is how we defend our planet. That is how we survive conflicts. You will understand if you pay attention." Far in the outer orbit, another group of alien fleets had tried to flank Earth's defenses. They had expected minimal resistance. Instead, they were intercepted by hidden human carriers and stealth fighters. Entire formations collapsed under the coordinated attacks, and many alien commanders began to question their own strategy. Rumors spread that Earth had forces the galaxy had never seen. Some whispered that humans could even predict movements before they happened. Jiho reported to Dong-hyuk, "The aliens are confused. Some are requesting ceasefires. Others want to retreat." Dong-hyuk's expression remained calm. "Let them come. Let them learn what patience and preparation can achieve. This war is not just physical. It is a lesson in understanding humanity." Meanwhile, Yunha continued her talks with the alien captives. She explained human history, how humans had survived internal wars, how they had endured natural disasters, and how they had learned to cooperate and organize under pressure. The aliens listened, some out of fear, some out of curiosity. For the first time, they understood that humans were not merely primitive creatures who had stumbled into space. Humans were clever, resilient, and surprisingly united. Hyunwoo returned to the carrier after another successful strike. He removed his helmet and let out a slow breath. Dae-hyun looked at him. "Do you think they will give up?" Hyunwoo shook his head. "Some will. Some will never understand. But they will respect us. They have already learned that humans are not weak." In the assembly, reports of the human strategies reached alien leaders. Shock and fear spread through the council chambers. Many could not believe that a single planet could resist multiple powerful fleets so effectively. Some tried to send messages demanding the humans to stop, while others debated whether to send more forces. Arguments became heated. For the first time in recorded history, no alien empire could agree on a plan. They had underestimated Earth. They had misjudged humans' capabilities and patience. Back on Earth, Sujin monitored the battle. She knew this was the moment that defined humans in the galaxy's eyes. Not through fear, not through intimidation, but through skill, strategy, and unity. The human smile, as the galaxy had not yet seen, was not arrogance. It was quiet confidence. Commander Dong Hyuk received reports of alien fleets hesitating at every move. He smiled faintly. They are learning. Not fast enough to avoid mistakes, but they are learning. Keep pressure on, but stay disciplined. We strike only where necessary. In the captured alien ship, the envoy began to understand. You are not like any species we have fought. You do not act as we expect, Yunha nodded. That is because humans are not like you. We fight to protect, not to dominate. We prepare not to scare, but to survive. And we do not underestimate ourselves or others. You will remember this day. Hyunwoo's squadron intercepted a retreating alien group, guiding them into a controlled area where they could be studied safely. No lives were taken unnecessarily, but the lesson was clear. Humans were organized, patient, and efficient. Alien commanders began to communicate in hushed tones, realizing that underestimating Earth had been their gravest mistake. Dong Hyuk observed the galaxy-wide confusion. Some may never accept us, he said. Some may fight longer than they should, but all will know the truth. Humans are not a species to dismiss. We are capable of great patience and even greater strength. As the battle continued, Earth's forces moved with quiet confidence. Aliens were surprised at every turn, forced to respond to strategies they could not predict. Human pilots moved as one mind, as one force. Each strike was purposeful. Each maneuver was precise. The galaxy slowly began to understand that humans did not fight like other species. Humans adapted. Humans learned. Humans survived. In the command room, Sujin turned to Hana and Jiwon. They will see now. They will see that humans are patient, strong, and clever. They will see that Earth is not a place to conquer easily. Hana nodded. They may never truly understand us, but they will respect us. Jiwon remained silent, watching the images of the alien fleet retreating in small groups, confused and demoralized. Respect, yes, but they will fear as well. And that is not arrogance. It is a truth they must learn. The day ended with humans holding their ground, teaching the galaxy a lesson in patience, strategy, and unity. Yunha recorded her observations, documenting the encounters, the reactions, and the understanding that humans had enforced without unnecessary destruction. The aliens had begun to realize that humans were different, not just strong but calculated, precise, and prepared for anything. As night fell over Earth and the orbiting command centers, the first waves of battle had shown the galaxy a new truth. Humans were not only ready for war, but they fought to teach understanding, not to destroy. Humanity had turned confusion into clarity and doubt into respect. The turning point was clear. Humans were no longer underestimated. The galaxy was beginning to see the depth of human strength. The first victories were theirs, but more importantly, the first lessons were learned. And as Dong Hyuk looked out at the stars, he knew that humanity's patience and skill would guide them through the challenges yet to come. The Galactic Assembly convened again, this time under a cloud of confusion and fear. Alien leaders whispered and argued, trying to understand how a single planet could have resisted their combined fleet so effectively. Reports of lost ships, unexpected maneuvers, and unseen defenses filled their data streams. Panic simmered beneath their polished exteriors. Sujin watched from her shuttle as the assembly debated. She did not intervene. She did not need to. Humanity had already spoken through action. The aliens were beginning to see that humans were not reckless, not impulsive, but precise, patient, and united. Inside the assembly, representatives of multiple species turned to one another, questioning every assumption they had ever held about Earth. Some called for reinforcements. Some argued for peace. The debates were heated, and no single empire could assert authority. Humanity's display of power and restraint had shattered their certainty. On Earth, Commander Dong Hyuk gathered his top officers. "We will continue our strategy," he said. "They are learning. Let them learn from what they have already seen. We strike with purpose, and we show that our strength is not a threat, it is a shield." Lieutenant Jiho nodded. They may not understand us fully, but they will respect our tactics. In the captured alien ships, envoys who had once viewed humans as inferior were beginning to change their perspective. Yunha spoke to them again, explaining how humans had survived millennia of conflict, how they had endured natural disasters, famine, and internal wars, and how these challenges had forged unity, resilience, and ingenuity. The aliens listened with growing understanding. "You are not like us," one alien finally admitted. "You think in ways we cannot predict." Yunha nodded. "Humans are not predictable because we value preparation, cooperation, and learning. We fight not for glory but to survive and to protect. We are not cruel, but we are firm." In the vast expanse beyond Earth, human fleets moved in perfect harmony. Every ship had a purpose, every pilot a role. Hyunwoo led a small squadron that had intercepted a group of alien ships attempting to encircle the planet. With calm precision, they disabled the alien weapons, guided them into positions where they could be studied, and returned safely to their base. The aliens were bewildered. They could not comprehend how humans could fight with such efficiency and yet refrain from unnecessary destruction. Captain Ha-jun monitored the communications of retreating alien commanders. "Many are calling for ceasefires," he said. "They do not want to continue the fight without understanding what they face." Dong-hyuk leaned over the console. "Let them reach out. This is an opportunity to show them that we are willing to negotiate, but on terms that respect Earth's strength and principles." Soo-jin, now back in the main conference room of the assembly, prepared to address the council. She did not speak with anger or threat. Instead, she projected calm authority, showing through her demeanor that humanity had no desire for domination, but that it would defend itself without hesitation. The assembly's attention shifted. Leaders who had once dismissed humans now listened. They saw fleets retreating not in defeat alone, but in awe of coordination and skill. They understood that Earth had prepared for years, and that humans had acted with strategy, not emotion. It was a lesson they would not forget. Soo-jin began to speak, her voice steady. "You have witnessed our defenses. You have seen our fleets act with precision and restraint. This is who we are. We do not seek war, we do not seek conquest, but we will not allow threats to our planet or people to go unanswered." Hana stood beside her, ready to assist with communications. "Humanity values peace, but we also value truth," she added. "We are strong because we have endured hardship and learned from it. Our strength is not arrogance. It is preparation and care for our own." Some alien leaders leaned forward, listening intently. Others whispered among themselves, clearly shaken by what they had seen. The centuries-old belief that humans were weak or insignificant had been shattered. For the first time, the assembly had to recognize that Earth was not just another planet. It was a force with history, preparation, and resilience. The captured alien envoys nodded silently, now understanding a part of what humanity represented. Yunha stepped forward, adding clarity. "Earth's strength is not just in our weapons or technology. It is in our people, our ability to unite, and our determination to survive. You may not understand us fully yet, but you must accept that humans do not fight as others do. We strike to protect, not to destroy. We act to end threats, not to dominate for glory." Outside the assembly, alien fleets hovered cautiously, unsure of their next move. Communication signals from Earth had reached them, not with threats but with explanations. Their ships hesitated, scanning, attempting to reassess. The galaxy began to feel the ripple effect of Earth's display, not as fear alone but as respect mingled with awe. Commander Vark of the Zeelan fleet finally conceded. "We underestimated them," he said. "They are not reckless. They are not weak. They are organized and precise. We must reconsider our actions." Dong-hyuk monitored the reports from his fleet. "They are realizing that Earth is not to be conquered. Let them learn this fully before more violence occurs. We will continue to defend, but we will not escalate unnecessarily." Hyunwoo returned from another patrol, removing his helmet. "They are starting to listen," he said. "They know that humans are not just fighters, they are thinkers. They act with purpose." Soo-jin turned toward the assembly again. "This is the message of humanity. We have prepared for war, but we have not sought it. We have defended ourselves, but we have not attacked unnecessarily. Let this be clear. Earth desires peace, but Earth will never be underestimated." Some alien leaders sat back, humbled. Others whispered apologies or reconsiderations. The first cracks of respect were forming across the assembly. They had seen humanity act under pressure, and it was unlike anything they had expected. The galaxy had long believed that humans were impulsive, reckless, and weak. That belief was gone. On Earth, citizens watched as the reports streamed in. Families held each other not in fear but in quiet pride. Humanity had not only defended itself, it had changed the perception of the galaxy. Humans had shown that strength was more than weapons. It was unity, preparation, and understanding. Yunha recorded everything, documenting the shift in attitudes, the responses of alien leaders, and the lessons learned through action and diplomacy. She noted that Earth's greatest victory was not the damage inflicted, but the understanding achieved. Commander Dong-hyuk allowed himself a brief smile. We have shown them that humanity is patient, strong, and deliberate. They will think twice before challenging Earth again, Su-jin added, and we have reminded the galaxy that humans value life, peace, and preparation above all. Let this lesson guide future interactions. As the day ended, the assembly began to change. Leaders who had mocked or ignored Earth now treated humans with cautious respect. Plans for further attacks were reconsidered. Ceasefire requests increased, and communication lines opened for discussion rather than conflict. Humanity had acted not only to defend itself, but to teach a lesson in patience, unity, and strength. The unveiling was complete. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's capability. The humans had shown that they could be calm under pressure, precise in action, and strategic in thinking. They had not fought for conquest, but their message was clear. Earth would never be underestimated. And as Dong-hyuk watched the stars, he knew that humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to act with wisdom and restraint, even in the face of war. The war that the galaxy had announced came to an official end not with fire and destruction, but with realization. Alien leaders, battered by miscalculations and careful human defense, gathered to discuss terms. They could not deny the truth. Earth had acted decisively, patiently, and with precision, forcing the galaxy to reconsider every assumption about humanity. Su-jin stood before the assembly one last time, flanked by Hana and Ji-won. Her calm gaze swept across the room, meeting eyes of leaders who had once dismissed humans. She did not speak with anger or threat. Instead, she offered clarity and reason. The war has shown the galaxy our strength. It has shown the galaxy our patience and unity. We have acted to defend, not to destroy. We have acted to teach understanding, not to dominate. Some leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Many whispered among themselves, acknowledging that humans had proven their point. The assembly was no longer filled with arrogance or certainty, but with cautious respect. The galaxy had learned a lesson it could not forget. On Earth, Commander Dong-hyuk received the final reports from his fleets. Every human unit had returned safely. Casualties were minimal, a testament to the careful strategies employed and the discipline of every soldier and pilot. Dong-hyuk allowed himself a rare moment of relief. We have not only defended Earth, he said to Ji-ho, we have changed how the galaxy views us. Ji-ho nodded. They will not underestimate humans again. That is as important as any victory. Yunha recorded her final observations on the alien envoys. Their demeanor had shifted from fear to cautious respect. Some still struggled to fully comprehend humanity, but they had learned enough to recognize that humans were different, resilient, clever, and united. They had acted with purpose, not recklessness. They had defended their planet, not for conquest, but for survival and understanding. Hyunwoo and Daehyun returned from the final patrols. They removed their helmets and looked at the stars. Do you think they understand? Daehyun asked. Hyunwoo smiled faintly. They will understand. Not fully maybe, but enough to respect us. Enough to know that humans are patient, precise, and strong. Back in the assembly, discussions turned toward peace. Alien factions debated openly, realizing that continued conflict with Earth was pointless. Attempts to exploit humans had failed. Attempts to intimidate them had failed. Humanity had demonstrated a strength beyond weapons, unity, strategy, and preparation. Su-jin offered the terms of the new treaty, emphasizing collaboration, respect, and the prevention of future conflict. Some alien leaders hesitated, their pride wounded by the realization of their misjudgment. Others listened carefully, seeing that humanity's offer was reasonable and fair. Su-jin spoke with quiet authority, her words carrying the weight of experience and wisdom. Earth desires peace. We do not seek to dominate. We do not seek revenge. We seek understanding. Let this treaty be a start for cooperation, not continued conflict. On Earth, citizens watched as the news spread across the galaxy. The mood was a mix of relief, pride, and cautious optimism. Humanity had faced the threat of the entire galaxy and emerged not just unbroken but respected. Families held each other, soldiers returned to their homes, and the world breathed a collective sigh of relief. Humans had survived countless threats before, but this victory was unique. It was not won through sheer force alone, but through patience, strategy, and unity. Commander Dong-hyuk addressed his officers one final time. This is more than a victory in battle. This is a victory in understanding. The galaxy now knows that humans are not weak, reckless, or impulsive. We are prepared, disciplined, and united. That is our true strength. Sujin returned to Earth after finalizing the treaty, greeted not with fanfare but with quiet respect. Humanity had never sought glory, only security and understanding. Yet the galaxy had learned to view humans differently, not as pawns or weaklings but as equals capable of extraordinary patience, ingenuity, and resilience. Yunha compiled her reports, documenting every maneuver, every negotiation, every lesson taught without unnecessary destruction. Humanity's greatest asset had been revealed, its ability to act with purpose, to defend without vengeance, and to teach through demonstration rather than intimidation. In the aftermath, alien envoys worked with humans to rebuild trust and establish communication channels. They studied human methods, observing not just technology but strategy, unity, and ethical principles. Slowly, the galaxy began to shift. Cooperation replaced suspicion. Respect replaced arrogance. Humanity had changed the perception of an entire cosmos. Hyunwoo looked out at the stars from his cockpit, reflecting on the long campaign. "We smiled when they declared war," he said softly to Daehyun. "Not because we wanted to fight, but because we were ready. We were always ready." Daehyun nodded. "And now they know it. They will remember Earth." Sujin addressed the world, speaking not only to humans but to the galaxy. "We have defended our planet. We have acted with precision and patience. We have not sought war, but we have not feared it. Let this moment be remembered, not as a time of conflict, but as a time when humanity showed what it means to be patient, prepared, and united." Commander Dong-hyuk led the human fleets in peacekeeping missions across the galaxy, ensuring that damaged systems were stabilized and that trust could be rebuilt. Humanity's reputation grew, not through fear but through careful action and understanding. Allies who had once doubted humans now spoke openly of their skill, strategy, and resilience. Yunha wrote the official record of the conflict, detailing not only the battles and strategies but the philosophy of humanity. Strength born from preparation, unity and understanding, not arrogance or aggression. The galaxy learned that humans did not fight for the sake of fighting, but for survival and for teaching lessons through action. Sujin, Dong-hyuk, Hyunwoo, Hana, Jiwon, and the countless unnamed humans who had fought, planned, and strategized reflected on what had been accomplished. Humanity had faced the threat of the galaxy and emerged stronger, respected, and understood. They had smiled when war was announced, not because they sought it, but because they had been ready. And now the galaxy knew that the human smile carried meaning, patience, preparation, and unyielding resolve. The war was over. The treaty was signed. Alien fleets returned to their home systems, not in defeat, but in acknowledgement of the power and wisdom they had witnessed. Humanity had taught the galaxy an unforgettable lesson. Never underestimate those who prepare quietly, who fight with strategy, and who protect with purpose. And as Earth looked up at the stars, the planet itself seemed to breathe with calm confidence. The humans had defended their home. They had protected their people. They had earned respect without seeking glory. The galaxy now understood that Earth was not to be taken lightly, and humanity smiled, not with arrogance, but with the quiet satisfaction of one who had always been ready and had finally been understood.